This episode is for anyone that's in a similar situation to me right now. That is, you have big dreams, big goals, big desires, like you feel you're meant for something more. But where you are right now in this moment feels so far away from that purpose and that desire, or it just feels like you're living such a different reality. I have to be totally honest with you guys. The last few weeks I've been feeling a bit down because of this exact juncture, this exact gap between where I feel I want to be, what I feel I'm meant to be doing, and where I currently am. I really don't want to be working as a corporate lawyer forever. You guys know that it's something I've shared time and time again on the podcast. However, at the moment, it is my present reality. It is the role I'm doing to help make ends meet and help me kind of work out what that next step is. But I can't help but feel the feels going by day to day, knowing I'm doing something that's not where I want to be long term. And of course, we can't negate or deny the need for an income. It's a very modern day, real pressing need, one we need to be very mindful of as we go about, wanting to achieve our goals and wanting to change our lives. And to that effect, I guess one could say, I have to be a lawyer right now. And maybe you feel the same. Maybe you feel that right now you're doing something that you just have to be doing to make ends meet. But we don't have to look at it in this way, because I feel the way I was looking at my job was making me really negative towards it, and I just really wasn't enjoying it at all. And in fact, what it was doing was, because it was building up this negativity and lack of motivation, that was spilling over into the other areas of my life, including how I felt towards doing the things I actually enjoyed, which obviously is a lose-lose situation. So if you don't love what you're currently doing, and like me, you're working towards a different reality, a different future, just doing something completely different, then this episode is for you, because I'm going to share today exactly what I did to reinvigorate my love and approach towards my job so that it didn't continue to keep getting me down and spilling over and impacting my motivation across all the other areas of my life. This approach has completely changed the way I show up every single day. Hey balancers, and welcome to another episode of the Balance Theory podcast. If you're new around here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any new episodes or videos if you're on YouTube. And just a reminder, and I guess a little announcement for everyone that hasn't heard so far, we do have a free Telegram chat. So I've put together a little community, a space for us to discuss the things that impact our balance, our day-to-day life. And it's a really growing, beautiful space. It's totally free to join. The link is in the show notes. You'll just have to download the Telegram app, which is kind of like a WhatsApp. And you'll be able to jump in, see the different themed chats, and connect with other balancers. We've got a really nice group from all around the world. So when you guys jump in, make sure you introduce yourselves, say hi, and let us know where you're from. I want to start off by sharing why today's chat is not only so important to me, but just really important for our sense of balance. When we think of balance, I think traditionally our mind jumps to this idea of equality, right? And of all the areas of our life being equal. But the reality is, and we can't deny this, most of us who work a full-time job literally spend the majority of our time at our job. It would be so unfair and so unrealistic for us to say to ourselves, okay, we want to spend the same amount or energy that we do at work in the other areas of our life. It's just not realistic, right? So any feeling or sense you have towards trying to create a life balance that ticks off those boxes or appeases that need for equality, we need to completely part with. And the reason I wanted to start here was because acknowledging that work takes up such a big chunk of our time is important, because then inevitably we can accept that that's going to impact the other areas of our life. Say like 70% of our time is at work. Of course, how we feel about that job, of course, how we feel about showing up in that space is going to impact how we show up across the other areas of our life, which is a big deal. And so paying attention to how we feel about it, how it's generally making us feel about ourselves, and potentially trying to find a way to reframe this so that it positively contributes to the other areas of our life is so important, given how prominent it is in our day-to-day lives. If you, for whatever reason, are feeling unmotivated, dissatisfied, undervalued in your role, just think about how that is going to be very hard to shake when you're feeling that, say, 70% of your week, when you go home and you interact in your relationships, or you want to show up for your hobby, or you want to do something for your health. Those feelings spill over and sometimes cloud the way we are in the other areas of our life. And of course, I'm not saying it's impossible. Of course, we have other areas of our life that give us energy, that fill our cup, and so they counteract maybe negative feelings we've got towards work. But I think a lot of us experience when you have those crappy days at work, when you've had, just like a low period or an unmotivated period, and then how that impacts how you are and the energy you have left for the other areas of your life. So that's what I want to focus on today. That's what I want to talk about. And I want to offer a reframe that lately has really helped me, I guess, kind of reinvigorate my whole experience with working in a job that I know is not for me long term, because that can become a little bit of a mental battle, right? You can really get stuck in your own head, and it's not a nice place to be. So I'm hoping if that's you today, I'm going to offer you some light at the end of the tunnel, because I feel like that's kind of what it has provided for me. And obviously in the discussion of how big work is in terms of its role in our lives, I hope that it offers you the same feeling of like a liftedness off your shoulders, a weight off your shoulders. So I assume because you're still with us, it's maybe because you're not loving what you're currently doing and you feel like it's impacting the way you're showing up generally. So what we need to do is reframe and zoom out. Let's start with the reframe. I want to share something really powerful. If you aren't working towards your ideal future, you're working towards somebody else's. And chances are, if you haven't sat down and had to think about what your ideal future even looks like, what you want that to be, what it entails, or similarly, if you haven't really thought about a why behind your job and you're not connected to a why that's strong enough, that's pulling you towards your future reality, then it's clear why you would feel so disconnected from your current day-to-day actions. They have no piece or role to play in the trajectory of your life. Maybe you've just, as we all do, and it's no fault of yours, you've fallen into like a little bit of a status quo, business as usual, the automatic, I guess, roles we play in day-to-day life. But you haven't zoomed out to think about, how is this particular moment in my life, how is this a key to the next step? How is this a part of the staircase of me actually going to where I want to go? And I just want to pause here and say, it doesn't matter if you don't have a 5 to 10 year plan, if you don't have some grand goal or vision of exactly where you want to be. I think it's more if you know where you are right now is, potentially, like I'll use myself as an example, right? I know that I don't want to work my way up to partner in a law firm. So for me, when I was disconnected from where I do actually want to go, my future reality, I felt completely unplugged from day-to-day life. It felt very monotonous and senseless, to be honest with you, because I was showing up doing this work every day, knowing well and truly I didn't want to grow in that particular area of profession, right? I don't want to keep growing professionally as a lawyer in terms of where I see myself long-term. But I hadn't taken the time to connect with that long-term plan, or I'd lost sight of it a little bit because I got wrapped up in the day-to-day of life. And so that created a complete disconnect for me. And I was just like walking around like a zombie, just kind of on autopilot. And that is really not a nice feeling, and completely spilled over and made me imbalanced in the other areas of my life, because this was such a key part of how I was spending my time, right? So it's basically working every day, showing up without any intention, right? Just completely thoughtless. And if this is you, just know you're not stuck here. Just know that I was there literally only a few weeks ago. And by the end of this episode, what I share, hopefully, will help you shift like it did me. And it's really, really simple. So let's start with your ideal future, your ideal reality. We want to just start brainstorming, right? As I said, maybe you don't have the exact mechanics of what it looks like, exactly what job you want. If you do, that's great, obviously, for visualizing. If you don't, you want to focus more on how you want to feel, right? So as I ask these questions, if you don't have the exact answer, I want you to think about, how am I going to feel? So when you're thinking about your ideal reality or your ideal future, you want to think about, what role will you be in? Will you be working in a team or solo? Will you be leading that team, or will you be part of a team? What salary will you be on? What will your working environment look like? Will it be remote? Will it be flexible, working from home and in the office? Will you be traveling as part of your job? What kind of skills will you be utilizing? All these things kind of help you start to paint a picture in the work category, I guess, of your life in terms of where you want to go. And it's really important, as I said, if you don't have the crystal clear, like, I want to get a promotion into this role, or I want to end up opening this business, or whatever it is, if you don't have that level of clarity, I want you to think about the emotion. So I want to feel connected and valued in a team, or I want to feel financial abundance, those kinds of things. So just take a moment, pause this if you need to just start to get a clarity around what that looks like. Now that we've got this future reality, I guess, painted as a bit of a scene for ourselves, what are the steps between where you are now and that future reality? And I know this can feel a little bit overwhelming. Trust me, I was thinking that as I sat down and kind of went through this myself, because my future reality involves a completely different profession where I'm not working in a corporate job. I'm not working as a lawyer. And so for me, that is almost so far from exactly what I'm doing now. So don't feel overwhelmed if you feel similarly. We want to start working backwards. So that future reality, start working out the steps backwards. So let's just start. I'm going to use an example of a salary because I feel like numbers are good to work with for this kind of example. So let's just say for round numbers, you're on $100,000 now, and your future reality to give you the financial freedom that you want, to give you the kind of lifestyle that you're desiring, you need to be on 250 grand. The steps backwards would be breaking down in how many years with reasonable pay rises or job shifts, depending on like your career and I guess the progressions and what bands that comes in, etc. Just start thinking about applying it to your own scenario. How many years or what kind of level of pay rises do you need to get there in 5 years, in 10 years, in wherever you see this future reality as a part of your life? Is it 2 years? If that's the case, if you want it in 2 years, how are you going to effectively 4-5x your salary? No, 2.5x your salary in 2 years. Is that possible? What would be the steps? So what we want to do effectively is think about, okay, this is our future reality. Break down all the components from working in a team to the job title, to the environment, to the salary, and build some steps going backwards, right? Tracing it down all the way to where you are now. What we want to do is create a connection, because that I feel is where a lot of the negative energies, a lot of the negative thoughts, they come in, because there is a total disconnect between where we are and where we want to be. So creating these logical steps, every 2 years I need to get a $50,000 pay rise, or I need to get a $40,000, whatever it is, right? By creating those logical steps, it starts to become tangible, and we can see how over time we are bridging the gap between where we are and where we want to be. Now, of course, this works well for something that's quite tangible. If it's something a little bit more arbitrary, like we said, maybe you want the feeling of financial abundance, or you want the feeling of being valued, right? And you don't have that now. Maybe you can start to think about what aspects of a role would make you have that feeling, right? So if you want to feel financially free, but you don't know what a salary would look like, make a number up. What number for you would be the number that would give you financial freedom, where you could sit back and go, I actually feel completely free from any financial stress, right? So start to take that emotion where you can, convert it into something tangible, and then you can start doing the backtrack steps. The reason creating this bridge is so important is because it gives you that very clear why for every day and why you're showing up right now. It creates that feeling or understanding of why you're doing what you're doing and how it fits as a puzzle piece as to where you want to go. Whether that's very, very clear and you've got a very clear career trajectory lined up, or whether it's moving towards an ideal reality of how you want to feel, at least you know what this current moment is serving, what its purpose is. And they do say that your role should either give you financial kind of perks or career progression, one or the other or both. And if it's neither, then you kind of have to really think about what you're doing in your role, because in my mind, those are really the two biggest reasons to be in a role. And if you're getting neither from your job, then you should definitely start considering other options so that you can start at least getting a benefit that fits that puzzle piece or that staircase as to where you want to go. So provided right now you're sticking to and in your role because of that financial freedom or because of that career growth, then it becomes a part of you building your future reality. You're actually doing it right now. Instead of rocking up to work every day like I was and feeling down about myself that I'm not, working as a podcaster full time or doing whatever else I want to be doing full time, and I'm working or stuck in a corporate job, I'm actually showing up knowing that what I'm doing now is giving me a financial benefit, or it's growing me in X, Y, Z, which is a part of me actually getting that future reality. And so this complete reframe shaped and shifted everything for me in terms of my why I was doing what I was doing. And in that moment, I no longer was sitting there building someone else's future reality, whether that be my bosses or someone else in my team. I was just, blindly contributing to someone else's path and not my own. I actually zoomed out, reframed, bridge the gap between where I wanted to go and where I am now, and seize the opportunity to start creating my future reality from today. And you know what? You've probably already been doing this. It's just completely a mindset shift to get you thinking about it. Now, we can't stop here. So understanding this reframe and doing this zoom out is so important as a starting step. The second piece of this is we need to do it regularly. So what I found was I did this almost as an exercise over a weekend. I took the time, I meditated on it. I really, really connected with it. But then came Monday and work was busy and it was almost literally business as usual, the status quo. And it almost went a little bit over my head. And so what I do now, and I mean, maybe for you doing it once will be profound enough, but what I strongly recommend and what's worked for me is that every morning when I do my meditation, it's been a manifestation meditation. I'm kind of in this era of connecting with where I want to go and manifesting. So in my meditation, I am connecting with that future reality. Now, what that does is it reminds me every single morning of my why. So irrespective how crappy that day is going to be or how much I don't want to do the things that I'm doing now, it keeps it at the front of my mind that this is a puzzle piece in a massive puzzle. It's a step in bridging the gap between where I am now and where I want to go. And that so far has really helped me not fall back into that distressed kind of disempowered state where I feel completely unbalanced because I am letting emotions or lack of foresight to guide me in work rather than my future reality and where I know I'm going and my why to guide me towards that future reality. So this is how I've recently been able to reframe my zest or lack thereof, I guess, towards my corporate job. So I hope if that's been you, if you've been feeling something similar, either from listening to this episode or after this from going forth, doing the exercise and doing it every single day, you also feel the same kind of reinvigoration because as I said, it's such a shame that something that takes up so much of our life can drain us so much. And so just reframing it, doing a simple mindset shift to make that a grounded part of where you're going and really just empowering yourself in the process is just the best way to give you back that feeling of control or that feeling that you're navigating and steering the ship towards your future reality. If you guys know anybody who maybe is in a little bit of a similar slump in terms of their work, in terms of where they currently feel they are in life, share this episode with them. I feel it's so empowering when we ourselves can do the work, create the shifts, and reconnect with our lives in a completely different way. And I really like making this stuff as simple as possible so that we can actually do it regularly on a day-to-day basis and with ease. So forward this on now if somebody comes to mind. If this episode has helped you, I would love it if you smash that like button. It helps us reach a lot more listeners who are on a similar path and looking for similar content. That would be most appreciated if you could take the time out to do so. I know a lot of you have found the podcast through just reading the reviews or it popping up. And so you guys contributing to this really helps us reach more balances. I'll see you guys on Monday for another episode. Until then, stay balanced.